Thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today, of course, college realignment, but we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about this mystery Twitter account called MHVER3. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to be. It's kind of like one of those license plates and you're trying to figure out what that person's trying to say. I'm not very good at figuring those out, so we're gonna call them MomHaver3. MomHaver3 is what we're gonna go with. And there's a lot of small YouTube channels, bigger than mine obviously, but still small. And the ones that are covering this college realignment, they use that Twitter account quite a bit. And to his credit, he called UCLA and USC leaving the Pac-12 probably a good 6+ months before it happened. A lot of these small YouTubers really use this guy quite a bit, and it's entertaining. I've watched a lot of these kind of videos where they use this Twitter account, this MomHaver3 or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be. Some of his stories has even got made it into the mainstream media. And these legit journalists out there. For instance, there's a guy named John Kurtz. He covers Kansas State. He's a legit journalist and does journalistic type of shit. And he's referenced them and talked about them and said, the account is definitely worth a follow. It's definitely entertaining and there may be something there. Apparently no one knows who he is. One of his more recent posts, maybe a couple days ago, was talking about Stanford and Cal coming to the Big 12. And, I haven't really paid that guy too much, attention or anything. But when, I was watching a smaller YouTuber talking about it, and I'm like, whoa, Stanford and Cal. That seems really outlandish and stupid. It just doesn't seem like anything Stanford would be interested in, nor Cal. But as I get busy doing shit around the house or at work or whatever, and I'm sitting there pondering this stuff. Then I'm kind of putting together all the, the sum of some of these tweets, and of course other stories that have been out there for the last several weeks. And things are starting to make a little sense, like Notre Dame wants Stanford in the Big 12. Right off the jump, that doesn't make sense. But Notre Dame wants more money from NBC because they want to stay independent. And NBC needs that shoulder programming to go with Notre Dame to make the to make the money work. And of course, obviously, they're looking for some, Tier 1 Big 10 content to put with it. And it just seems to me Notre Dame doesn't like that idea there very much. It seems like they would rather be doing business with the Big 12, not the Big 10. I don't think they trust the Big 10 that much. And if that's the case, then it kind of makes sense for them to try to get Stanford, team who they play every year. That those are two schools that get along very well and have a rich history together. And I think Notre Dame wants to continue to have that rich history and doesn't want to have to be beholden in any way to the Big 10 to make that happen. On that business level, maybe it makes sense for Notre Dame to step in and try to do that. Plus, they want Stanford to be relevant. And if you're in the Mountain West, making 7, 8, maybe 10 million a year on a TV contract, well, you're not going to be able to keep up with Notre Dame. And Notre Dame wouldn't be able to keep up that rivalry. I mean, it wouldn't be a rivalry. I mean, if every game Notre Dame is blowing them out by 40 or 50 points, no one's going to watch that shit, so Notre Dame won't be able to schedule that very much. But then I noticed on a lot of this MomHaver3's account, he usually talks about Arizona and Colorado going to the Big 12, but really, he's kind of downplayed that whole Arizona State and Utah thing. So I'm sitting here thinking, why that? Because I personally, I would love Utah to be in the Big 12. It's a hell of a football program they have. And I think the better you are in football, the more successful you could be as a conference. That's my thinking. I think that's a lot of people's thinking, but that may not be the thinking of TV execs. And you better believe that the new commissioner for the Big 12, as he's planning and plotting and getting everything ready for TV negotiations, that he's going to have people that are very, very aware of how TV execs think And they're going to have charts and metrics and whatever, just to kind of show the value of different schools, who to add, who maybe not to add, and for reasons that people may not think about, like redundancy. What's redundancy? Well, I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say, you want a truck. You want a truck because you like to move shit. You like to do little projects around the house. You need to take a lot of trips to Home Depot. And right now, all you have is a Honda Civic. And you can't exactly haul lumber in a Honda Civic. So you want to go get yourself a nice pickup truck so you can haul your shit around. So you go buy that pickup truck. And it does the job great. And you love having the pickup. So then you go buy a second pickup. Why? I mean, it's one thing if you're just going to buy it for your wife, but if, let's say you're not married, it's, so you're going to have two pickup trucks. For what? Well, that way one's for lumber and one's for dirt. No, the truck can do the same thing. You can only drive one at a time. It's redundant to have two pickups for just you. That's just ridiculous. It's kind of the same thing here. As far as this Mom Haver 3, how he kind of doesn't really talk about Arizona State that much. Well, if you're going to have Arizona, it's kind of redundant to bring in Arizona State. And even though Arizona State probably has a little more reach than Arizona, but as far as football goes, neither team's really relevant. However, Arizona is they're pretty much on the elite list when it comes to basketball, which does generate revenue. If you look at the totality of the programs, Arizona's more valuable. And you don't need two teams for the same market when you can buy one instead of two. And I think the reason Utah is not really being talked about or discussed or kind of being dismissed as far as Big 12 relevancy goes is because you already got BYU, who owns Utah. All right, they are the team in Utah. If you already own that market, you don't really need Utah. It's redundant. And I think that's probably one of the things that I haven't thought of because I'm not a TV exec. I'm not trying to think how they would think. I'm thinking as someone who's interested in the story and who likes football and likes to see great conferences come together and have, great storylines and great games and have great seasons. The basic fan shit, right? But TV execs aren't fans. They're business people. They want to know what's going to sell. What can they sell to somebody else? How can they get more advertisers? How can they charge more for airtime for advertisers? All those kind of things. All that crap. And us normal people, we ain't thinking about this shit. We're just not. Which again brings it back to Stanford and Cal. I mean, why? Well, there's only one reason why. The market. So, but why would Stanford do this? I understand they would, entertain. I understand they would entertain, Notre Dame and their thoughts and all that kind of thing. But why would they do it? Period. As far as going to the Big 12. And Cal's desperate. If they want to keep football. And if they want to be a relevant school of any kind, they need to be in a good conference. Or at least a secure conference. We'll see down the road if it's actually good. There's no guarantee of getting into the Big Ten anytime soon. And the Pac-12, it's falling apart. And people are at each other's throat. ESPN offered them $24.5 million a year, $25 million a year. Maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 30. And then with Oregon and Washington wanting an uneven split, you done pissed off a ton of people. So the people who actually have an option to get out of there are probably looking to do so. But in Mom Haver 3's reporting on Twitter, he's talked about things that just makes sense, sounds sense. And that's why I'm kind of giving him a little more credibility. I don't know who he is or she, but let's face it, it's probably he. Maybe this is a person who actually does have really good sources, has ears in certain rooms. According to him, when Stanford, I guess, is talking to Notre Dame, maybe talking to the new commissioner of the Big 12, it's things like, we need a brand change here for us to get involved. That's something that makes sense. that kind of reporting, and not that I know, I don't have any damn sources, but it makes sense, because Stanford, they think a lot of themselves, right? They just do. They think a ton of themselves, and they do have a rich tradition. They're a big time academic school, and they're pretty good at football. Not all the time, but when they are good, they're good. They have a respectable program. So I kind of see them as, okay, we're having to go from a really nice gated community to a trailer park of the Big 12. I'm sure that's kind of how they see it, And I would just say, maybe it's a trailer park, but it's mostly double wides, not the little lunch boxes. And I think what they're saying as far as, we need a brand change is, do we have to call it a mobile home park? Can it be a pre-manufactured community? Sounds better, has a little better ring to it. Possibly a little prestige. Maybe a below-ground pool instead of an above-ground pool. That kind of thing. And I think, from Notre Dame's perspective, is if they could bring value, not by joining the Big 12, mind you, but if they could bring value to the Big 12, that would help entice NBC away from the Big 10. Now, that won't do it alone. But at maybe in a little bit of an insistence from Notre Dame, like, hey, we would rather be shouldered with the Big 12 because we know they won't pull any shit. The Big 10, who knows? That may not be a good partnership. But yeah, Mom have her threes, whatever I'm supposed to call them. It sounds to me like he actually might have some connections somewhere. Whoever the mystery guy is, he seems to be connected. I'm not saying everything that he's putting out there is 100%. I'm not saying that. But I thought it was pretty interesting, given that this whole Big Ten thing just blew up. Like, oh my God, the Big Ten are going to absorb the rest of the Pac-12. It's like, okay, here we go again. Here we go again. Because the commissioner of the Big Ten, opened his face and said, oh, we've still got interest out west. And the Mom Haver 3, for instance, he said, hey, I think he's just trying to shake shit up and help his buddy, the new commissioner of the Big 12, because they are friendly, maybe doing him a solid. And not just doing him a solid, but maybe kicking ESPN in the ass a little bit, because they're the ones that are trying to get the rights to the Pac-12 and have them right now on Pac-12 Network. So I'm pretty sure the commissioner of the Big Ten, who is right now a major supporter of Fox, doesn't mind kicking ESPN in the balls a little bit with that statement. But everyone's taking it and running with it and think that, oh, they're going to take on all these teams. Trust me, people. Trust me, the Big Ten is not. And what do they say? It could be a few months. Could be a few years. Well, Oregon and Washington doesn't have a few years. They got to find out what's going on within the next year. Because the grant of rights deal is going to be up in the Pac-12. And once that's up, where do they go? Where do they get the next paycheck? That's the problem. And that's the predicament they're in. They kind of work themselves in there, because I think Stanford may be taking a Big 12 move seriously. Because, your Mark, or however you say his name, new commissioner of the Big 12, he is very serious, not just about being aggressive, but rebranding, trying to be fresh and young and hip, whatever the hell that means. But I find it pretty damn cool that somebody who no one knows the name of, it's not Mr. Wojnarowski all over ESPN, it's a Woj bomb. Oh, God, I get tired of that hacky shit. But it's just refreshing that some obscure person that no one knows is the straw that's stirring the drink right now as far as reporting on college football realignment. I think that's pretty damn awesome. And all these so-called, real world professional journalists, well, they don't know a damn thing. We've gotten propaganda from the Pac-12 out the ass. We've gotten a bunch of, overinflated egos in the SEC. We got a bunch of shrugs and shooks from the Big Ten. So we haven't really gotten any kind of real reporting, just a lot of, don't know. Let's break it down. Let's do our little opinion on it. And that's what jackasses like me and all the small YouTubers do. So welcome to our world, journalists. But the Ides of August, they are upon us. We're right around the corner. And you know what that means? Pac-12 teams going to start coming right on into the fold. And I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it because I know there's a lot of smug-ass Pac-12 people that are just going to be crying because now the prestige of the Pac-12 is dead. Anyway, that's all I got on this crap. I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.